Beyond the Line is back from a little summer break, better than ever before. We are looking back on Pauline Ferrand-Prévot's incredible mountain bike career, and we discuss whether she's already the most decorated female rider of all time.
Bonne chance.
Merci.
Merci.
What are these buttons on downhill bikes for? We tried to investigate.
The GPS satellites are controlling the bicycle.
We will also fill you in on all the drama at the Loudenvielle Downhill World Cup and look back on the World Championships as well as the Olympics.
Go, Ellen!
With more and more teams experiencing financial troubles, what is the industry's status quo?
For sake, how did I answer that all in one?
As always, Rob Warner is hosting with Red Bull TV's downhill analyst Eliot Jackson and two-time cross-country World Championship bronze medalist Emily Batty at his side.
Hello and welcome to Beyond the Line. After a summer break for the World Cup that feels more like an off-season, we are back. It's been so long, I've actually almost forgotten what you two look like. Hello, strangers. Emily and Elliot join me. But the longest summer break I can remember in a while, I made the most of it. What have you two been up to? This is me, actually, riding earlier this week.
You're just so excited.
No.
You're riding on
Look
the
at these
street.
massive jumps I'm clearing.
goodness.
Getting behind an unnamed local.
I don't even know if I can believe that that's you, Rob.
That's me.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's me on my brand new downhill bike that I haven't had for years. Yeah, it was amazing to ride back here in Austria. Had a bit of success here in Austria over the years, Em.
Well, I spent several weeks off-grid, no service, portaging and canoeing.
What's portaging?
When you carry all your camping gear with you and your canoe off into the backcountry of
I will
Northern
never do that.
Ontario.
Well, is that your house? You just lived on a boat?
No, we would camp.
Oh.
But all our gear's
It
with
looks
us.
Insane. It looks amazing.
Does look
It
beautiful.
was amazing.
Well,
yeah.
while you guys were chilling, I was training in the south of France. Right here you can see I'm in Monaco. I heard Max Verstappen lives there. I have a 7 record. Red Bull Motorsports slid into my DMs after they saw
bet they
the
did.
speed on me here.
You're lucky to get out of Monte Carlo without a criminal record. I would say, no, they don't let anyone do that.
But you also broke the internet with
Broke the law,
9
broke the
million
internet.
views.
Yeah, I know I went viral, so you're lucky to have me here. Yes.
We're lucky to be in your presence.
Yes.
Well, it was a long summer break. Of course, there was that small race in Paris. We had the World Championships in Andorra, and we now look forward to the very last part of the World Cup season. 2 big races coming up in North America, and yesterday, an amazing downhill in Loudenvielle, which we saw both titles decided. Loic Bruni and Valentina Hull both taking their World Cup titles, defending their World Cup titles again. I mean, incredible stuff, wasn't it?
I feel like the 2 riders you see up there are kind of our generation's talent. These are 2 people who have been world champion, been World Cup overall multiple times in the last few years. I mean, Emily, what do you think about that?
Straight away, I mean, Valley is just so young, first of all, in cross-country, defending your 3rd World Cup over title in a category completely different than elite, but of course she's elite. It's really impressive to see this young.
She's so young. I remember, YT signed her at 13. They saw the talent in her. And then do you remember when she came into elite in Leogang and broke her ankle in that first year, home World Championships, tipped to win it. Yeah. One of the big dudes that was backing her from the industry said to me, look, this is nothing. He was like, Valentina Hull is the future of women's downhill. Like, make no mistake. And it's taken her a little while to find her feet. But
well, that's what I was
so
going to say,
established
because
now.
There was so much talk about, can she do it well? Like, she dominated in juniors, but she's not doing as good in elite. And now she's won 3 overalls in a row. And so I think that it just shows that talent that everyone saw when she was a junior really has, it's shaped up to, I don't know, she's just shaped up to be this incredible rider.
And saying, the one thing that might have been missing, she's always had the skills, no doubt about that, was the racecraft, perhaps the head for it. Seems to have put everything coming together for her, wasn't it? Amazing to see her take that win. And this is what she had to say after her race run.
I knew I could wrap it up this weekend with winning if Tani wouldn't crash, and it was super hard to get that feeling, that fire. I don't really like the way how the overall was decided now. Like Tani was the only one in the rain, and it's not how I want to race and claim the overall, but at the same time I also take it because I was struggling this weekend, and I just can enjoy Canada and also not feel bad when I go on holiday next week.
Well, there's no hiding the kind of disappointment in her voice, you know, the way that she took that third title. I don't know. She also said she's struggled all week. If that's her struggling all week, then I don't know, you know?
Man, I think it shows what a competitor she is.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter that she just won her third World Cup overall title. She didn't ride the way that she wanted to. So I think that is what she's looking forward to in Mount St. Anne, is to actually do what she knows that she can do on the bike.
And we know Valley is either winning or she's crashing. It's on or off.
Yeah.
Is it fair to question if she has that consistency as, you know, comparing to a Rachel Atherton or...
She's getting there. I mean, she's had 2 World Cup wins this year, so you could argue that sometimes, you know, I think she's a rider that could have more. That took her actually to 10 World Cup wins in her whole career. Now, in her first 28 World Cup races, she's had 10 World Cup wins. Rachel Atherton, in her first 28 World Cup races, had 8 wins.
Okay.
So the trajectory is absolutely there. The kind of bit that blew my mind, though, when I started looking at these stats, is the fact that, you know, Rachel Atherton and Caroline Chausson, 40-41 World Cup wins to their names. That's 30 more that Valentina has to get. 30 more. That's like, I can't even...
But you know what,
shows where those women were at, right? She's only 22, though.
It's amazing that she's even in that conversation. She is one of 3 women, with Anne Caroline and Rachel Atherton, who has won an overall and a world championship and backed that up the next year. So
yeah,
it's amazing that she's able to do that.
Yeah, the consistency is impressive, but performing on demand is what's most attractive to me.
What do you think? I mean, to me, for someone to be World Cup overall winner and world champion in a year, then that's the sign of a great... Do you see that in cross-country racing as well?
We do. It's usually just, you know, a couple years at a time, but to do it 2 and 3 years in a row, it happens, but it's pretty rare.
Yeah, really rare.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even in the men's, right? You have Loic, 5-time world champion, Aaron Gwynn, 5-time World Cup overall with no world championships.
1 bronze medal.
Right.
Is his medal count in the World Championships? Yeah, one of the greatest... Absolutely the greatest downers of all time. Yeah, you can't get near it. It's mad, isn't it? Well, while Valentina Harlot has been doing all the winning in the women's, there's someone very much impressing Eliot in the men. Here he is.
Loic really got my attention about 12 years ago when he got on an elite podium as a junior. He kept my attention because he just won his 4th overall title. And this year wasn't easy. He's had to consistently raise his game against young talent, old talent, conditions, and Ferrand riding out of his mind. But when you least expect it, you realize that Loic has once again done something that seemed impossible. He continues to show why he's one of the best with his impeccable line choice, unmatched mindset, and relentless drive. If Loic keeps this form, there's no doubt he'll keep adding more victories to his already impressive career.
Well, yet another amazing performance by the Frenchman. We caught him shortly after his race run.
So happy. It's so super hard to achieve. You know, seasons, up and downs, crashes, successes. And the last World Cups were always so difficult with the rain coming last minute to the appointment, you know, so we're having difficult race runs. And today again, so I was really trying to focus on riding as good as I could without taking too much risk and not managing too much like I did in Léger. And I did both. The start was really good, I was having fun, and then the bottom I decided to think about the overall and stuff, so I didn't really push all the way. I'm sad I didn't, but at the same time I'm really happy I kept it on 2 wheels, and hopefully I can finish the season on a high, and Finn and I can do 1-2 in Mont Sainte Anne.
I mean, amazing as ever to hear him chat, how calculated he is, saying, you know, well, he gauged the effort to absolute perfection. Perron's been coming for him, perhaps lost the momentum a little bit, crashed out, but I mean... Yeah, Bruni, he is the best in the world, isn't he? He is.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually crazy because typically we've had the World Cup overall. His World Cup overalls have come very difficultly, if you will, right? Like those battles with Amari, and it's been insane. But I think that...
He still has more World Championship titles than he does World Cup overall.
I know, and it's amazing that that those are about to even out, because the way that he calculates, right, to go down the track, he was up a second when nobody else was at the top. He's amazing at these like really flat sections carrying speed. And then he said he backed it off, and you could see it. You know, you could see that he wasn't kind of pushing as hard as Benoit, but he knew what he needed to do. Jack, his mechanic, told him that Emery had crashed, and he only needed you know, a 7th or 8th, I think, you know, top 10 to get that title. And he did it, and that's why he's the best.
So I know in downhill you guys are so focused on that overall, which is very different than XC. But how was he not pre-calculated? And why did he just learn that straight after?
I laugh, right? They calculate every single thing except for if you won the overall or not.
Yeah, that was shocking to me.
Yeah, it is amazing. I think that team as well, right? Like you think of Jack, Laurent, the specialized gravity team. You hear him talking about Finn. I think that team is also on the rise. I mean, Finn as well was on fire.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he defended his title. Don't forget that as well. That was his 4th title. Now, here's the thing for you. The greatest there's ever been in the sport, to me, is Nicolas Vouillot, right? He won 5 overall world titles. Only him and Aaron Gwyn have done that. Bruni's next overall world title sees him match Vouillot there. It's a little bit more of a long shot, but don't forget how fast he was going at the World Championships in Andorra. That would have been his 6th overall win. Vouillot's has 7. Like, you know, and we're talking now in the modern era, the advantage of training, the advantage of bikes is gone. This is a much harder era of winning, right? It's got to be. And Bruni, 10 years after his first World Championship elite title, is still at the top. And, you know, to me, he's the best. He's there every year. He's incredible. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, what more can you say?
I wrapped it up quite nicely there. Well, with all that excess, nearly got it wrong there, didn't I? With all that excess, you can say that Loic Bruni is a man with his finger on the button.
Can you tell us what the 3 buttons on the handlebars are for?
Then you can accelerate, slow down, or shift the gear.
No, it's more just to control my emotions. Yeah.
The GPS satellites are controlling the bicycle.
Maybe like a windshield wiper, the water.
Ejector mode.
They are to help me because I don't have enough talent.
Well, they are French. Well, have you ever asked the French person anything? Can you? No. Can you? No. Can you? No.
We have also the Mario Kart mode.
It throws the banana peel over your head. So like the rider behind you spins out.
They can throw bananas, apple, and potatoes.
Maybe like you press square and it makes you do like a backflip or something, I don't know.
How many people have crashed after Louis? We need to check this out.
We're making an adjustment. So green, I click when I'm really happy. Blue, I click when I'm sad. And red, I click when I'm really mad.
It's automatic suspension. The athlete's able to change the suspension with a button.
You go faster, less suspension bob, and you're off to the finish line, so to speak.
Absolutely. You know, that's what racing's all about. You know, we want an advantage.
It's an advantage for the right person.
But at the same time, just having fun and enjoy riding, and you're going to be fast with any setup.
Well, lots and lots of answers there. Towards the end, and we might have got somewhere near the truth of it. I mean, we had Finn on a Just Ride podcast, right, a few months ago, and I looked him in the eye and I was like, it's suspension settings, isn't it? They will not even hint at what it is. But clearly there must be 3 suspension maps on those buttons. As we heard there, it can slow down, there's the compression, the rebound, it can adjust the travel perhaps, certain parts of tracks. You know, you can make your bike work a lot better on them. And it's not new. I had it, I'm going to admit this. Yeah, us factory riders. 1998 Worlds, Chateau Day. There was a massive, long, flat, and they were flat in my day. The tracks were 7 minutes long. You know, you'd pedal. And we had a lockout that did it was cable. I think we started with a rear shock and then maybe even had like some weird contraption that made both ends lock out. I didn't actually like it. I thought it was unnecessary and and a pain in the neck. Something to remember. I didn't really want to pedal anyway, so it didn't matter how fast I rolled. But it's obviously moved on. But do you think I'm in the ballpark with that? It's suspension settings.
Yeah, right? Certainly. When I first learned about the buttons, or the theory that there's this mysterious thing that those riders had on their bikes that others didn't, we knew as cross-country riders 100% this was a suspension tuning to some degree, and we've had that. I don't want to go back to skin suits being a thing in XC for the last 10 years, but I feel like this is another one of those bike advantages that we've figured out a decade ago. Not to make a big deal out of it, but.
In XC, am I right in thinking that it can actually be automatic? Tilt sensor might know the bike's going uphill, and without you doing anything, the suspension will become firmer?
Yeah, I mean, we've gone the automatic route with both Fox and RockShox, but the manual is still where it's at. When we're on the start line, for example, we want it as rigid as possible. It's fully locked out, or you are losing power with that supple suspension. Yeah. And then climbs, often on flat sections, is when it's obviously wide open, but it's not new, and it's quite surprising at how much attention.
Emily's not impressed.
Well, that's not the only thing you guys are micromanaging too. You have so many more controls than we do on downhill.
Certainly, yeah. I mean, as long as you guys aren't having to think about it, and that's where I feel like we're a little more advanced. We have the dropper going up and down, and then we have shifting, of course, and. It's something that's come so subconscious. It's like driving a car. You're not looking for the brake pedal.
Oh my God, it's so funny you say that. So I was doing some analysis at Loudenvielle. So this is Finn, and I wanted to kind of just show you what this looks like. Look at his suspension. Look how it's kind of reacting. So this is at the top of the track, and you'll see right here.
There, isn't he?
Yeah. So look at the light. The light corresponds to which mode he's in, and so kind of just looking at it, green is going to be his aggressive mode, faster rebound,
all out,
a lot stiffer suspension, like you were saying, when you want some pedal, and we've seen the specialized riders being really good at these top of the track, and so this is right after that flat section. You mentioned it needing to be second nature. You see Finn look down right here.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because it's not second nature. You've got to have it.
That's right.
It's right. It's difficult in a downhill run. It's so intense. It's really hard to do this.
The mode is still green there. The mode is still green. It goes to blue right here, so you can see actually the light switches. And the reason he does that, again, I have no inside knowledge, but just looking at how the bike is reacting, I would say the blue mode is more when he's wanting traction. So he's going into this really slippery part. You're going to see the suspension.
Yeah, what does that do to the suspension?
Just looking at it, to me, it's a lot softer, a lot more
supple.
Yeah, and a lot slower rebound. So you'll kind of see him come in here, and look how low in the travel he is. And this is not a super fast part, so you can see the suspension is actually almost all the way bottomed out right here, and he's really trying to get that.
It's a super steep section though, where he doesn't need the bike particularly to roll fast with stiffer suspension. Have everything open, have it working, find all that traction.
Here.
Oh. Right, I'll get my coat.
Unrelated, but again, like I was saying, he is micromanaging, so he's back in the green mode here. And you can again look at the suspension. This is a steeper part, but the bike isn't nearly as low in the travel. It's a lot faster rebound. And so I just kind of think about that, Emily, like you were saying, where we are just kind of getting into that, where you're thinking about, where am I at in the track? He would have picked that spot. He knows exactly where he's going to switch his modes, exactly what you're going to do with that suspension. But it's new, and I think that it will be one of those things similar to data and downhill, where you will see that on pretty much everyone's bike in the next couple of years.
And don't forget that Öhlins, I mean, they're using Öhlins suspension, relatively new to mountain biking, but people saying, if you go on the Öhlins website and check out what they're doing in MotoGP, you will see those exact buttons. So they are maybe ahead of the game. And no doubt that every advantage is needed at the moment, right? I mean, 100th, 1,000th. And with the results they're having, hard to argue that it's working. But it didn't work yesterday, did it? Because it was our man, Big Benny Coulange, who came out on top in Loudenvielle, his second ever World Cup win. He's so close so many times, but amazing to see. I love watching Benoit
Coulange wins.
We're big fans, man. Yeah.
It's just the best. And it was amazing to see how confident he was. This track, even though it was wet, the reason this track worked in the wet is because you had all these really deep ruts.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to take the risk, you could kind of just use it like a slot car track almost. Go in, you didn't have to worry about traction that much. Obviously, it was still super, super gnarly. But that's why we saw some of those later runs, Loic being able to put in those top split times. And Benoit just was so aggressive. He was riding it like it was dry.
Coming off the back of a great result the week before as well at World Championships, of course, he was far off being world. I mean, he's worthy of being world champion. He is one of the fastest dudes. Sure. He lives in the shadow a little bit of Bruni and Vergier. Yeah. He's a man who lets his riding do
I mean, I always think that about the French. You have to do, as a French rider, you have to do so much to be noticed, right? Like we have like a Thomas Stack, we have Benoit Coulange, Matteo Iniguez, and Benoit has been winning races now, and it's only now we're like, oh, maybe this guy is one of the top 5 riders in the world, Yeah.
Well, let's see where he is in the overall World Cup standings, because that win will have boosted him. We know that Bruni wrapped up the title in Loudenvielle.
Yeah.
Where's Big Benny?
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that he can perform on kind of like any track. And, he's in 9th now, but it's really that fight between Ronan and Finn.
7 points going into the finals in Montauban. And what's even better is that we're going to be there trackside to enjoy it. Yeah, amazing. 7 points. So there's your real battle for 3rd place. 1st and 2nd looking like they're done. Benoit Coulange inside the top 10 now. But, yeah, a lot of those races this year, being hit with the weather a little bit, turning things up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, on one hand, it's frustrating, but on the other hand, you have a Ronan Dunn who is still on the podium and he crashed. And so you see the skill coming out in the riders. It kind of reminds me of, the 2010s, early 2000s, where the separation is so much there, and you can have a Danny Hart, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing to see in the sport of downhill.
Well, that's right. And, talking about Benoit Coulange, he's a rider that's got to find a team next year. His team, Dorval, have said they're folding at the end of it. Danny Hart rode for, I think, almost for free this year. Just got a frame deal. Such is the state of the industry at the moment. There's a massive question mark over where we're at. We delved deep into the pits to find out more.
Current status of the bike industry is it's difficult.
It's a really tough one to answer that.
Especially financially, the market that's reducing.
Some brands are struggling, so everybody is struggling to find new sponsors right now.
The sport is heavily reliant, almost totally reliant on industry-related sponsors.
It's going to your head, you think about this before sleeping, and a lot of stuff like this.
I think across the board, you'll notice that kind of profits are down within the bike industry, especially within all the big brands.
The industry in the bike actually right now is not in good health, I would say. It's all just kind of leveling off from COVID and stuff like that.
I don't think it's just the bike industry. I think globally, everyone's struggling.
Right until this year, it was really important. You have to look good for everyone. This year, the only problem is about money, and there is no money in the industry. It's going to change a lot these next few years. Teams are looking for good riders, but they have no money to pay them as much as the riders would like, I think.
That has a direct effect on the teams like us.
I want to find a team that I can stay for long, because I like to build a big relationship.
Most bike companies will want you to have 1, 2, and 3, but we looked back, especially through Honey's concussion year. If we're not winning, what are we doing? We're worthless to them.
To get outside sponsors, you need very good data. It's very, very clear that the riders are valued as much by their marketability.
I want to give our sponsors so much more.
To be a good team and to put the athletes in good position, you need people that goes together.
In today's world, you have to be multifaceted. You can't just be a racer.
Well, very difficult times for sponsors and the manufacturers, for the industry. I mean, to me, it all comes down to COVID. Everyone wanted a bicycle. You couldn't get one. All the factories were shut. Those orders kept coming. It's all been delivered in the years since, and the bike manufacturers now have got so much stock and none of that is selling. Everyone who bought a bike in COVID is now selling that on eBay as well. You know, so the market is absolutely saturated. And, yeah, there's no money, it feels like, coming in. I mean, have you ever seen it like this?
Well, I mean, they didn't explicitly say it in the piece, but you have Madison Saracen folding, who has Matt Walker, our World Cup overall champion. You have Dorval, who has another World Cup overall champion.
Won yesterday.
And we were just talking about how great Benoit Coulange is.
Yeah.
Emily, you ran a team. Like, how does this happen with such talent?
Yeah, I mean, as co-owning a World Cup team, I learned quickly, and we all did actually, that it's a bit of a, well, it's very much a broken business model. You know, we spend 60% on operational and then 30 on salaries and 5 marketing and 5 overhead. There's zero profitability, and there's no product to sell for these teams that aren't those factory brands. So it's a slow chip, but I think we're starting to see that reflect amongst the teams.
Yeah, it's almost like you'll see the big teams get bigger and that kind of the grassroots maybe go away.
Because these factory teams are working within their 5% marketing budget, so they have that. But these other guys, it's hard to watch.
I think perhaps the wildest thing is that it feels to me like it's still getting worse. It's not. We're not coming out of it yet. It's still. The screw's still being turned. Anyway, the racing still, though,
The racing has never been better.
That's right. The racing has never been better. And joining us now is Myriam Nicole, live from Loudenvielle. Eliot, you come over here so I can see her. Don't ruin my view. Hello, Eric. Hello. How are you, Myriam?
Hello. Hello.
Congratulations. Yesterday, your 10th World Cup win. Amazing, and I would imagine this one might be one of the best ones yet after what you've been through, you know, missing a whole season last year after that concussion.
Yeah, definitely. I would not expect a win this year. I kind of knew it was possible, but this was not really in my mind because the level is so high. But yeah, I take it, and it felt so special. I think I still don't believe it. It feels like unreal.
Myriam, you had a super emotional podium at Leogang. Well, how does this one compare? How does the win compare? And why was that podium so emotional for you at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, I mean, like last year I went through some really hard time, and we saw some neurologists that told me that I might never be able to race bikes, and I was not feeling great just exercising for 20 minutes. So I had at some point to imagine that it was the end of my career. So coming back on the podium in Leogang was already like the first big step, and it was like, I mean, even if it stopped after here, you know, I've been back on the podium, and it was like all good. So yeah, and this win feels just like unreal. It's crazy. Yeah, I through some hard time you can go, and how you can go back to the top. It's just a cool process.
I thought I'd heard somewhere, Myriam, that you woke up yesterday morning and had a feeling that it was a different morning. Can you run us through that, or was it, or what was that like for you?
I mean, I told myself it's possible, and it might be the day. You know, it's kind of the first time that this happens. Like, I really said that I had a good night, and the night before the race are often for me quite difficult, and I had a good night, and I was like, well, let's do it. It's possible. You know, you have the speed. Because I crashed in quali and was second, so I knew I had the speed, and I was in a good place, and I was feeling great. And for me, that was really important, that I could perform with my friend and family here, where normally I would ask them not to come because it's so much pressure for me. So that's kind of the big things of yesterday as well.
Myriam, you started racing mountain bikes when you were 5 years old. Your first World Cup win was like nearly 15 years ago, right? I mean, you've been at the top a long time. You've had, this last injury was one of many. I mean, you've had so many broken bones over the years. You're 34 years old now. What brings you, what makes you, drives you to keep coming back? And not just to come back and be mediocre, to come back and win like you just did.
Yeah, I mean, like, you evolve every day, and I feel like the older I get, the better I like racing. And I feel like now I can handle more the pressure, and racing is cool, you know. I don't have that much pressure, or maybe I just handle it better, but I just enjoy even more to go over my limits. I enjoy the community. I enjoy way more racing now than before, where I had so much pressure and I would feel sick about racing. So I think this is what I still feel that I evolved. Maybe the last few years was more mentally, and maybe I lose a bit of physical and technical skills with the years, but the mental game has been a huge progression this last few years. So this is maybe where I still feel like I'm climbing back to where I was before, but in a different way.
I mean, I wouldn't say that you're losing technical skills winning a World Cup, but you talk about the community. You've been with Commencal. I mean, how long have you been with Commencal? And then also going through that that process, the ups and downs with Max. How has that been?
Yeah, I mean, like I've always had a good support, but yeah, I mean, like this is a sport, you know. When like we had an interview yesterday with Max, and he was like, I live through the athletes, so when they doubt themselves, I doubt as well, because I am with them so much that I can doubt myself, and he was like super happy yesterday for me for this comeback, and it was a good thing. But last year during my injury year, I didn't race, and normally in my contract all my sponsors have like, if you don't do that many races, then you don't get this part of your contract. And all my sponsors support me, all of them, through this tough year. So it has been really important for me.
Yeah, that's really amazing. I mean, you are also fighting for the overall still. I mean, maybe not fighting for the win, but you're up there. That might have gotten decided. I guess. What are you thinking about going into Mount St. Anne?
Yeah. Honestly, I thought coming here, something was possible. And then the day before quali, I checked the point. I didn't know anything about the point. And I was like, oh, you're that far back. But in the same time, I didn't do the first 2 World Cup. I didn't qualify. So, I mean, it's super good to be fourth. I don't know now how far I am for the third spot. I think Marin is in third. But I mean, I just take this season as a progression season. I take like the opportunity to build myself back, to learn how to race again, and to be strong for next year. I didn't have a good winter training, as I only start training in January, and it had to be gentle still for my head. We had to be cautious. Then in February, I hurt my thumb and I had to get surgery coming back from New Zealand. So it was.
How many surgeries have you had now, Myriam, in your racing career? Numerous, right? And you're a physiotherapist by trade, which might be quite useful going forward.
Yeah, I mean, like I had a few bones break and ligaments, and after a concussion, it's like nothing. You know, it's super easy to heal a bones or a ligament, but healing your head is something else. So, yeah, I had a few, but going through a concussion during 1 year is something else.
Thanks very much for joining us, Myriam. Always amazing to chat to you, and incredible, absolutely incredible to see you back on top. We loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you for what you guys are doing.
Bon voyage. We'll see you in Mont St. Anne.
See you, Myriam.
Ciao. Bye-bye.
There you go. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Thank you. And we will have all our World Cup overall winners in the studio with us in Mont St. Anne. Right, prediction time, the most awkward part of the show. Let's see what we did 10 weeks ago. These were our predictions for Loudenvielle and for the World Championships. And I can tell you by looking at that, because I'm quite clever, that no one, I've just worked that out right there and then, no one has to do a forfeit. We actually we all got one right, look.
Is that how this works?
We're finding out as we go, but it looks like that.
Yeah, I'll take a an even
Yeah, because you usually lose. So
okay, here we go.
Louis was close at the World Championships, and so was Dakota and Norton. So we weren't far off. Very close. We were right in the ballpark on our men's predictions.
We did well.
We were.
I think we did well.
I mean, I think you're either right or wrong, but I'm close.
Here we go. All I know is I'm going to beat you in the last prediction.
Well, let's have a look at those Monsanto predictions then. Here they are.
I don't think being a home Canadian is going to help you here, Emily.
I've gone for Bruni because in the men's downhill, the pressure's off. Like, he's wrapped the title up, and so has Valley. So they're mine too. Look at Emily using the recent form of Myriam.
Flow going. I think she's going to carry it. I think she's going to do it.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
And on that note, we will leave downhill there and turn our attention to cross country, which means we find out who impresses our very own Emily Batty.
When we think of men's cross-country racing in 2024, a few names might come to mind, but it's Alan Hatherley that has all our attention. His impressive early season started with a podium finish in Arrachal, Brazil, followed by a silver medal in Val di Sole, Italy, and then his World Cup win in France. Hatherley continued his success at the Olympics, earning a bronze medal and solidifying his reputation as a top contender in our sport. At the pinnacle of his season, Hatherley's famous attack on the steepest climb of the World Cup circuit led to his World Championship title and will go down in history as a standout performer of the season. Alan, you have my attention.
Well, we had him on the phone, actually, at the last show a few weeks ago. He has been flat out since then. What did he do? A perfect weekend in Ligier, winning the short track and the cross-country race in there. A bronze in Paris. And, of course, more recently, world cross-country Olympic champion. Alan Almighty. He definitely is, right?
Yeah, talk about one of the most consistent seasons as a whole. When there's such a pinnacle time of year when you have to be peaking in the middle of the season, toward the end, actually. He still started early spring races in April in Brazil on the podium with the bronze. So, you know, Alan, watching him, he's also had a history. He's always kind of been there. He's that rider that's just been, you know, top 5, top 3, a few podiums. But when we look back at his history, he does have a U23 World Championship title as the U23 men, and also an e-bike elite World Championship.
That's the first time I heard his name, actually.
No way.
Well, yeah, because I was into the e-biking a bit back then, you know, more, and I was
What year was that?
That was 2019 in Mount St. Anne.
Well, you know, it's funny, Emily, I was thinking about it. I don't know if he's doing so well because he was training at altitude or if he was chilling at the lake with Simon and the rest of the team.
Yeah, the interview we did with him. Yeah, it looked like they were at a beach resort. He spends so much time. Andorra is kind of like a second home to him, so he's in Europe and not in South Africa. But he's very, very comfortable performing with the altitude, and we clearly saw that this weekend in Andorra.
Yeah, he's been crushing it.
He's insane, as was Peter Shea's performance. I mean, have we got a female Tom Pidcock here? Rhodes that won a stage, didn't she, in the Tour de Femme?
She did, yeah.
We know what she does on a cyclocross bike, and now world champion cross-country Olympic.
Yeah.
How was her performance, Em?
I mean, I can certainly empathise with her result in Paris with the 4th. You know, she was bound to get at least a silver, I think. But she had that mechanical mid-race, and she did climb back up to 4th. But yeah, you could see the redemption at Worlds. Like, she was laying it all out there, and she just led right from the gun, which was quite brave for a young rider to do. We saw Candice Lill definitely give her a run for the money in the first half of the race. She also had a crash mid-race, which gave Pook that advantage to then get that gap happening.
Was that kind of all of that, the peaking that we had talked about, you know, in Paris, like building up to this one event, and we're kind of seeing who really nailed it by the World Championships?
It's a great point. So 4th place doesn't get near the media attention, if any.
Yeah.
I can speak from experience. so Pook walked away from the games and was able to probably put all of her energy back into training, and she wasn't having to do all these obligations that the medalists were. So she definitely took advantage of that.
Okay, yeah, that's super interesting.
She didn't look tired.
Right.
And we know that she was the 4th stage of the Tour de France Femme winner, which is an incredible result, and she was quite proud of that one.
Amazing, yeah. What do you think Victor Koretsky's going to be feeling like? I mean, of course, short track world champion. No taking that away from him. Amazing. Silver at World Championships in cross-country Olympic. and probably the most heartbreaking silver medal I think we would ever see in Paris, right? I mean,
yeah.
I don't know, exhaustion, whatever, a mistake I might say there, letting Tom Pidcock take. I'm sure that he will never. I don't know. Will he ever sleep again after that moment?
I have never seen. It was just, I mean, I guess coming from, like, for me, from, like, a motocross background, like, you leave the inside open.
Yeah, well, that's right.
It was clean pass to me.
Yeah, it was all good.
But,
no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in the bike industry world, I think we all saw that was a fair pass.
Yeah.
But darn, that was an intense race, wasn't it?
It was crazy.
But then to see him, come up just a little bit short and see Alan Hatherley take advantage of when Koretsky had sat down on that steep part of the climb at Worlds.
Yeah.
But he didn't let up. Like, he still was second place, a very consistent season for them.
Yeah, no doubt. Koretsky's one of cross country's absolute big hitters, no question of that. The results are there. He's right there every week, as is Evie Richards, who is the 2024 short track world champion. She did the XCO a few years ago. I mean, what a performance up against Pauline.
Another kind of a rider that didn't have a lot of pressure, didn't have a lot of media stress to deal with. And Evie, as we know, is a powerhouse. And those short little steep climbs on that indoor track for World Championships and the short track were to her advantage. And I thought it was really interesting to see her come, because she wasn't in the contention for the medals up until the last 2 laps, really. Yeah. And when it was Pauline leading, to see Evie just put that at the back of the mind, that who she's competing against. She's
not her first sprint finish against Pauline.
No, she can have sprint.
A repeat, but like on this one, Evie was, gave her space, and
there's no controversy over who chose what line. But I'm so glad that she didn't give up, because she was bound to win that one if it came down to the scenario it did, and it was in her favour.
It was indeed, of course, beating Pauline Ferrand-Prévot again, as we said. And since that, Pauline Ferrand-Prévot has now signed off firmly on mountain biking. She wouldn't even pick up the phone to us here on our show, I promise you that. But before she did, Pauline Ferrand-Prévot got the crown jewel in her career.
On any surface, on any bike, it's always this woman you've got to beat. The most decorated cyclist of all time, PFP adds another title to the collection. Pauline Ferrand-Prévot is the absolute pinnacle of success. Her success is peerless.
Well, an absolutely astonishing career. And it's not over yet, of course. She's finished with mountain bike and she's now going to start properly a road career. But she's won 12 Elite World Championship titles in all disciplines of cycling. She's now the Olympic champion, took that in Paris, her crowning moment. You've raced against her, Emily. How special is she?
She's an icon at this point. I think most of us would agree with that in all disciplines, except for downhill, surprisingly.
Surprised she didn't go to downhill instead of road.
Still time,
yeah. No, she's an incredible athlete. She's very calculated. I think of all the athletes, she is the most sophisticated when it comes to selecting which races she's going to be performing. We only saw her take a couple of years, in her career where she wasn't performing at the top. But just to see her drive it's different than all the other women. She's very quiet, very reserved into herself. And when Pauline's ready to race, she races to win. She's not racing to get back there, because where is there?
She's not racing to make friends.
She's racing to win. Yeah. And you feel that around her. Yeah. She's not there for the games and the tactics. She's there to win, and she's very, very calculated.
Do you have a favourite memory of her?
I thought about it, and I raced amongst her quite a bit in 2018, one of my better years. And I think just kind of what I said, there's not this distinct moment where I thought, oh, this is a memorable time, but just her relentlessness of being calculated, I think is my best memory.
What was it like being on the track with her?
Yeah, I mean, we're in France, so
This one, you're like, and I came across the line first, but what can you do?
Well, ahead of her in second place there, but no, she's just been an incredible athlete.
Yeah, ultimately that's what she is. She's a pure athlete in many ways, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's how I see it. One day we did a show a few years ago called Rob Meets, where I would go and meet athletes at home. I always had 3 days, or at least 2 with any athlete, because we had a lot to film and riding and interviews. With Pauline, she could spare us a day. She was busy, and in that day, she scheduled 15 times up this massive mountain behind her house where she was living in the south of France, right? So we're like, right, we haven't got any time with her anyway. How are we going to do this? Out comes the e-bike. I'm trying to interview her, riding up a hill and she's going, not boost mode. So I'm like, and then the fall back and she hears the beep, boost mode, and I never get it every time. Hey, here's a beep, Rob.
French accent. Yeah. I can hear it.
I'm not training Pauline, but yeah. She was you any memories, Elliot?
Yeah, I mean, I got to interview her at our last broadcast in Val di Sole, and I was so nervous because it was my first cross-country Olympic interview, and I sit up there and I asked, I'm sure what was kind of like a basic question. She was just so charismatic and just like on from the very beginning. It's like you said, Emily, like on, off the track, and on. And it as you were talking, Emily, it reminded me of this year with her, right? Like where she was so deliberate about her prep. We skipped all of these races and it was like all to get this one win, which she got.
Yeah, and she just knows what works. I love seeing her race those hardtails. I'm a hardtail fan, and we saw her race a few races this year on her hardtail. She knows what works, and she just sticks to it. She's just so committed.
She's got insane kind of self-belief to put all her eggs in one basket like only she can, but she does deliver. Let's have a look at the overall World Cup standings now, and Pauline will not take any further action. She has signed off on mountain biking, like it's done. You won't see her in the World Cup again this year. This is how things stand, though. She's not really in there anyway because, of course, Paris was her focus. Keller still leading. Pook Petershea some way off at 200 points or more, but 660 points still on offer. 2 rounds to go, Lake Placid. Mont St. Anne could be wet. I mean, it's not over yet, Emily, that one, is it?
No. I mean, it's always interesting seeing the Europeans come to North America and dealing with the time change and that travel. I love Rebecca Henderson's comments on that and watch them travel. But it'll be interesting. Good last bit of the racing. There's no pressure at these races. I think the riders are going to have some fun with it more than anything.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
It's funny to me, we've been talking about so many different people throughout the season. Keller's in the lead. And then the guy that we've been talking about a ton, Allen, is in the lead. Imagine if he capped off the year with a World Cup overall title.
To do the double. That would be pretty amazing as well, wouldn't it? Yeah, so there it is. 1,128 points. Nino Schurter is still there in second place. He's dropped off a little bit, Nino, the last couple of races. We know he's getting towards the end of his career. When do you think that will be? I mean, is it Lenzerheide next year? World Championships next year in Switzerland as well? Or?
I mean, wasn't there rumour that it was this year?
Yeah,
I haven't heard much.
That rumour's been around as well, yeah.
Yeah, we're not sure yet. We're going to wait and find out.
Yeah.
We'll wait and see. So, if you remember a little while ago, 2.5 months ago, we gave our predictions for the World Championships and for Paris. Here they are. Let's have a look, see if anyone has a forfeit.
For sure I won.
2 to me.
Oh, hey.
Look, we all got Paris right, and we all got the World Championships wrong. That's all right.
Close-ish.
No, you weren't.
Oh.
Not that close.
Well.
No challenge. And we gave our predictions for Lake Placid and Mont St. Anne. Let's have a look at those, because these may come into force.
Yeah,
in
this
Canada.
is going to go really well for me, actually. Yeah, this is... Oh, wait, did you just copy... you copied mine in Lake Placid. Martina Burt?
Yeah, did you watch her at the World Championships?
Oh,
she was right up there.
Okay.
Hey,
Third.
Matthias Flukiger, I commentated on him yesterday at an K Bike Revolution. He is there for the end of the season. He's just had his appendix removed 2 weeks ago, and he's winning everything.
Why did you swap? Why am I Lake Placid? I think that they're going to do better. What do you got MSA? What do I not know?
Oh, Fluky is incredible in the mud.
Okay.
Yeah, he could be good. He's going to take some stopping. Right, we're going to change the subject completely now. Me and Elliot have watched it. We're up for the biggest movie release of the year, 2 weeks' time, September the 20th. It's Anytime.
We all have our idea of what we want the sport to look like.
Still have that childhood feeling every time I drop in.
We are ready down here.
Anytime?
It's go time, man.
It's gonna be insane.
The best feeling ever.
I'm ready to go!
Anytime. This September on Red Bull TV.
Well, you don't want to miss that. Absolutely breathtaking locations around the planet. The best riders on Earth. I mean, it's spectacular start to finish, isn't it? The cinematography in it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I was at the premiere, and two of the things that I thought were insane. Well, one was Emil's part. I guess another was Braga and Cade and Brett Reeder. But the other one, we were in Guanajuato. And
the wall ride.
Yes, yes. There is this insane wall ride on the side of the urban race. We were like, who is doing that? That's insane. Like what? And it's
Tommy G.
Tommy G.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was keep an eye out. If you've watched the Sarabajo race in Guanajuato, you'll see a bunch of little crossover moments, which is super cool.
And don't forget, one of those coming up in October live on Red Bull TV. Well, that is the end of the show, people. Thanks so much, Emily. Thank you, Elliot, for joining us. You don't want to miss this final stop of Beyond the Line from Mont St. Anne in Canada. We're getting all the World Cup winners in via the podium, and they may have even drank some of the champagne. I don't know. That seemed to be what had happened last year. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you in Canada.
That's it for episode number 4 of Beyond the Line. But there is so much more to come your way on Red Bull TV. This weekend, we will head to the Ökkercar Bike Revolution Finals in Loudenvielle, Switzerland. How will the Swiss cross-country elite fare in one of the last tune-ups for the World Cup's home stretch? Also, make sure to check in on the penultimate stop of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series on September 29th. The world's best cliff divers head to Antalya, Turkey to dive into the pristine waters of the Turkish Riviera. And the big day is almost here. Anytime premieres on September 20th on Red Bull TV. Beyond the Line will be back after the grand finale of the Downhill and Cross Country World Cups in Mont St. Anne. We will bring you all the thrills and spills from Canada.